our time on Earth, indeed, is very short. We are, no matter how old or young you are but a tiny slice of the overall plan in the cosmos, right? You're here for a very, very short time. We all are. And the big question, of course, is what happens after we end this physical life, or it is ended, however it happens. It's a big question. And October, of course, is a great time to explore that question, because one of the main things you look for is any evidence of life beyond the physical. The main area you look into for that would be, the area that Brendan Cook and Barbara McBeath look into. Brendan Cook and Barbara McBeath are both members of the Ghost Investigators Society, GIS. The Ghost Investigators Society, and this is important, is a non-profit organization. That's right, they don't make money, dedicated to the investigation of ghosts. Not only do they conduct investigations, but they also instruct, assist, and educate anyone who believes that they may be experiencing ghostly phenomena, or those who are just simply curious. In an effort to educate the public about ghosts, the GIS hopes that the EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, that you're about to hear, will help demonstrate that the consciousness, our consciousness, does survive after the body dies, and that these voices may help to give a different perspective about life, death, and ghosts. First of all, welcome back to the program, you two.
Thank you, Art.
Good morning, Art.
Yes, good morning, and I can hear you both clearly. That's a good thing. All right. Great to have you back. How long has it been since we did a program together?
Oh,
seems a little too long.
I think it was November of last year.
Yeah, a long time. They did do earlier in the week, I think George did a program with, believe it or not, another couple. Y'all that do EVP must come in couples or something. And anyway, it does not matter. I think this subject is so important and so worthy of our attention, or the attention of those who are trying to figure out what the real truth is, that it's worth doing even more frequently than that. That's how I feel about it. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
what launched you guys into this anyway? For me, it's what the heck happens to us after we die, if anything. Does something really happen? Do we survive physical death? That's what took me into it. What about y'all?
Well, it's a subject that I've been interested in all my life, but we have gotten so many responses from people that have just gone out and tried this on their own.
Which you can do, folks, by the way.
And the response has been incredible. People contacting us and emailing us.
Yeah, of course. If anybody can do it, if they can prove it to themselves.
Yes, and that's usually how. There's a lot of people that have interest in it, but they don't want to investigate it or research it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on your curiosity level, I guess, depends on whether you're willing to go out there and try to find out on your own.
I think people should go out, and I must tell you, I've had, thousands of emails on this topic, because we have suggested, of course, in previous programs, that people do exactly that they go out and try it for themselves. And I really am all for that, because if you can demonstrate it to yourself, then you got to sit down and scratch your head and say, hey, maybe that's really not a bunch of circus bull. Maybe there's really something to it. And if there is, what does it mean? Well, hey, if it's real, then it means we do survive death. But oh my, in what manner?
Yes, it opens the door to many, many questions.
You're not a profit organization, right?
That's correct.
All right. Now, this can be done with either a standard cassette tape recorder, or I think more recently you have moved into the digital realm, right?
Some of us have.
Yeah. Barbara is still fighting the whole digital thing.
Oh,
she likes her tape recorder. So.
We have a GIS schism. So, Barbara, you're still using a tape recorder?
Oh, yes. I like to have the tapes.
I see. While Brennan's moved into the digital age?
Yes, a couple of, 3 of the members have.
All right, let's get the equipment part down. What kind of tape are you using? Please, people want to know.
It's the Iowa cassette mini cassette tape recorder, and it has an external mic.
An external mic.
And it also has a counter so that there's a reference. You can reference where you hear a voice.
Standard cassette recorder.
That's correct. And we use brand new tapes every time we go to a location.
Very important.
Never reuse a tape.
Pull the cellophane off the sucker and never reuse it, because, of course, you might get something that was somehow on there.
That's
so, okay,
correct.
fine. That's how you do it. Now, Brennan, what equipment have you begun to use?
Well, right now we're using we're actually using a couple different digital recorders. One is an Iowa digital recorder, and I can't remember exactly what the model number is. If you go to our website, we list all the equipment that we have and the models and all that, so people can go out and actually use the same stuff.
Okay. And you use an external mic also?
Yeah, we do. And actually, I found out it just turns out clearer. I mean, the quality of the voice actually seems to be clearer when you do use an external mic. And especially, we really use the recorders for two purposes. One, to document the entire investigation, and the other, obviously, to record EVP.
Well, I remember back when we were urging you to try digital, you seemed to have the feeling that it would not manifest as easily on digital for some reason as tape, something about the magnetic heads or whatever.
Yeah.
But that turned out, would you still say, not to be true, or what?
Well, definitely. I mean, the theory that we had back then, I mean, definitely it can't be true, because obviously we are getting voices on these digital recorders.
As frequently?
Yes.
Actually, yeah, I would say as frequently.
Well, then, Barbara, what are you waiting for?
Hey, I'm an old lady. I like the old stuff.
but in a sense, it doesn't matter. These EVPs are showing up either on tape recorders or on digital recorders. Doesn't matter. They're showing up anyway, right?
Well, that's true. And actually, that brings up a really interesting point about this whole phenomena. There's times where I will be standing right next to Barbara, me using a digital recorder and her using an analog tape recorder, and sometimes I will get a voice and she won't, and I'm no more than 5 feet away from her. Or it's the opposite. She'll pick up a voice and I won't. Or other times we both get voices. I mean, the phenomena varies so much.
How many times do you both get voices? How frequent is that?
Oh, it's pretty frequent. I mean, I would say that the majority of times when something is picked up, it's picked up by the recorders that are close at hand, because we have, like Jenny, one of our other members, she'll carry around the digital and also a regular mini cassette recorder.
So she's in transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And I'm going to have to replace mine. My recorder probably has about 1 million miles on it now, and it's starting to not be reliable. So I'm going to have to try to find me another one, and it's getting hard to find the.
All right, and you all hang out in places like prisons and graveyards and funeral directors' homes and cheery little places like that, right?
That's correct. Any place that's reported having activity taking place.
Well, here's where I want to ask you about something, and it is, you once told me that while there are hotspots, it's not any necessarily more likely that, I mean, you'd get them anywhere, and yet you all still gravitate toward these, graveyards and things, right?
Yes, but they're easy access. Probably our hardest obstacle is getting permission to get in to a location. To
these various places.
Right.
All right. Well, then let us begin the, I hesitate to say the evening's entertainment, but I guess that's what it is in a way. You've just got to hear this to believe it, folks. So you're about to hear it. The first group that we're going to hear from, I guess, is in a funeral director's home. Is that correct, or is it just one?
That's correct. It's the same funeral director's home.
Okay.
I believe it's the next 8 tracks you're going to hear from this man's house. And I don't know if you'll recall, I'm sure some of your listeners will, probably about a year ago, we actually did the first investigation in this man's home. And this is the home that I had the experience with the young boy in the mirror running behind me, and his head was, I mean, the only thing I could explain is that his neck was broke because of how he was looking at me.
You mean it was in such an unnatural position?
That's correct. I mean, it did not look right. I mean, obviously it didn't look right just because there was a young boy running behind me when there was no children in the house. But on top of that, just the way he looked was so disturbing. I mean, it's something I really wouldn't want to see again.
Well, right away, I don't like that. I mean, right away, that indicates to me if you died, for example, of a broken neck or a back that went totally haywire or, whatever, that this injury will then manifest itself on the other side as well. Isn't my vision of the other side at all.
Yeah, well, we asked him if, after Brendan told us what he had witnessed there, we asked him, the funeral director, if he had recently had a young boy for burial there at his work that might have followed him home that had been killed from a broken neck.
And he said?
And he said no. He said they had a lot of children that year, but none that he could recall having a broken neck. So.
All right, so let us go to track 1. Set that up.
All right. Well, this track, and this was recorded using the digital recorder, and I recorded this in the basement of this funeral director's home. And Barbara and I were the only ones in the basement at the time, and you're going to hear Barbara say, "Will you talk to us if you're here?" And as she's saying this, she's looking through her infrared camera. And she says, "Oh, hi," because she had just seen an orb on the camera. And then she talks to me saying, "Yeah, there is something here, Brendan." And right after that, you're going to hear, it sounds like kind of a younger woman saying, "Come enjoy the light."
Come enjoy the light. All right, let's see if that's what we hear. Here you go.
Can you talk to us if you're here? Oh, hi. Yeah, there is something here, Brendan. Come enjoy the light. Come enjoy the light. Come enjoy the light.
Come enjoy the light. Clearly said, come enjoy the light. Now, did you all hear that? If not, what I do is I play these twice because I know a lot of people are straining to hear them and may not hear them the first time. Therefore, once again...
Will you talk to us if you're here? Oh, hi. Yeah, there is something here, Brendan. Come enjoy the light. Come enjoy the light. Come enjoy the light.
Come enjoy the light. Now that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Considering that those who die, those that we get back, the near-death experiences rather than the full affair, all talk about the light.
The light, and I thought that was an interesting thing that she said, referring to the light.
Yes, that it was not just the light, but that it was enjoyable. I thought it did quite clearly say that. Sometimes I disagree with, I know that some of this is open to interpretation, but I mean, that's a voice out of nowhere. How were you aware, Barbara? I heard you say, well, yes, there is something here. How were you aware there was?
Well, we use the infrared video cameras, and I saw this orb coming towards me, and it went off to the side.
Oh, you mean an orb like we see in the orb photographs, the little blobs of light?
Right.
Really?
And many times when we start talking to them, they'll respond to us. They'll stay right in front of the camera and kind of hover there.
They hover, huh?
Yes. Just have a little bounce to them, and they'll stay there. Come up close to us. Sometimes the infrared light will drown them out, and you can't tell where they go. But they'll get so close to you, you can't follow them because of the infrared drowning them out.
All right, let's be clear about something. Do you think that these entities that you're encountering and that are actually speaking to you, my God, it's eerie to listen to, but are actually speaking to you, do you think that these are people who have reached their final destination? Do you have any clue of all the things you've listened to? How many clues do you have about the nature of the other side? Are they just trapped on Earth? Are they spending a little short vacation here before going on? What?
Oh, it would have to be theory, but I do not believe that they have reached their final destination. I do think that there is someplace else that we go to when we die, and I don't think that they've crossed that line yet.
You don't think so?
No. For some reason, they're still here.
Do you have anything beyond what you just said, that it's your theory, anything from your work that says that might be so, that might be true?
There's been a few voices that have indicated that, there's been a self-realization that they're dead. There's one location that we frequent quite a bit because of the EVPs that we record there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them sound like the same voices. It'll sound like the same spirits are there. But there was one that we recorded that she said, I'm completely dead, and we never have recorded her voice again there.
I recall that statement, which I thought was pretty darn chilling. I'm completely dead. Now, of course, she could be referring to complete as in the physical sense, or as in I'm at my final destination. I'd surely rather believe in the first.
Well, and the cadence of that woman's voice when we recorded her was almost like she had had a self-realization. I mean, the fact of us being there looking for ghosts, it was almost like she just realized, well, they're looking for me.
One more ahead of the bottom of the hour. Before we get to the bottom of the hour, from the funeral director's home, here's number 2. What is this?
Brendan and I were still in the basement, and we were sitting. Brendan was on one couch, and I was sitting on another couch off to the side. Mm-hmm. And you're going to hear me say, can you tell me who you are? My name is Barbara, and this is Brendan. And what's interesting about this voice, it sounds like a small child. He says, I'm 3, and then Brendan asks, how old are you?
Huh. Even prior to the question?
Prior to the question.
Prior to the question. All right, here we go.
Can you tell me who you are? My name is Barbara, and this is Brendan. I'm 3.
How old are you?
I'm 3. I'm 3.
Oh, man. On top of the fact that that's clearly a child's voice.
Yes.
Clearly a child's voice. Very troubling. Really troubling. One more time. Here it is. Listen carefully.
Can you tell me who you are? My name is Barbara, and this is Brendan. I'm 3.
How old are you?
I'm 3. I'm 3.
Do they read minds?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. Do they read the minds of the living? That would clearly... How many times has that ever happened to you? A question answered prior to being posed.
It's happened before, but not very often.
Kevin fast blasts me from Ohio saying, at the beginning of your show tonight, you mentioned a possible photograph of a shadow creature. Oh, yes, I did. It's on my webcam right now. If you go to the website, in the upper left-hand corner, you just click on webcam. Indeed, it was sent to me by an unidentified person who does not want to be identified in Seattle, Washington. It is clearly a shadow person in the middle of the room. Kevin says, in a recent lecture given by Stephen Hawking, entitled Brain New World. I assume he means say that brain as in our brain, Brain New World. He mentions the possibilities of shadow worlds and people. Wow. Stephen Hawking mentions shadow people. Perhaps an entire shadow world. You make up your own mind, as with everything that we present to you on this program. Digest and see what you think. But go to the website by all means. And go to the top left-hand corner, click on webcam, and look at what's in the middle of a living room. Now, I wonder, just out of curiosity, you two, have you had an opportunity to take a look at that?
Yes, we have. It's very intriguing, very good picture.
Yes, we have had many, many who have seen shadow creatures, but very few photographs, and this is a particularly good one.
Well, the actual photo almost looks like the entity's suspended from the ceiling almost.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? And so, it brings up the question of, what form, or perhaps many forms. These may have previously been human beings, these shadow people. They may be interdimensional creatures of some sort, those that share the world with us now. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, it seems to point toward something more than we understand as human beings, something more than we can prove. Religion is all faith-based, and you have to have faith, and that means believing in something that really isn't. Well, I believe that we have some existence after we die, but I don't know what kind. Your work seems to point toward one possibility, a shadow photograph, another. Did you see the ghost photograph?
Yes. That's a great photograph also.
Indeed, it is, yes. All right, well, back to what you do, recording the voices of those who may take those apparitional appearances. So number 3 here, again done in a funeral director's home, huh?
That's correct.
What about number 3?
All right, in this track, you're going to hear the funeral director say, "Can you see the lights?"
Uh-huh.
And he was actually seeing lights in his home. They have, just recently, the phenomena that's been occurring in their home has become very visual. He's just recently got married, and his new wife has seen a small boy, and it scared her so bad that she wanted to leave. They're actually seeing quite a bit, and also I believe he was touched a couple of times, and that bothered him.
There's also fragrances and smells. There was one night that we arrived, and they had walked out of the house because there was like the smell of boiled eggs or sulfur smelling, and it was still in the house when we walked in, but it immediately... you couldn't smell it after about 2 minutes after being in the house.
Well, has this unidentified mortician made any connection between what he's experiencing, and it's beginning to sound very serious, and his work?
Yeah, he has. He definitely thinks that it's something that has attached itself to him. A body that he could have been working on, whether it be a child or something else. But, he works with bodies constantly.
Does he consider this to be a serious downside to his employment?
Well, he's done, he's been in this business all his life. His father and grandfather were both funeral directors.
Yes, well, I guess if we don't get to this, we'll run out of show here, so let's rock. Here it is, number 3, and the question was, can you see the lights? And then some response by some entity, right?
That's correct. It sounds like a woman saying, "I don't know if I want to live."
I don't know if I want to live.
Can you see lights?
I'm not sure about that one at all. I don't know if I hear, I don't know if I want to live. I don't know if I hear that much.
Can you see lights?
Well, okay, on that one, folks. I don't know if I hear as much of, I don't know, and then I hear live, but I don't know if I want to live.
She kind of runs her words together.
Yes. Just operating on the presumption that is what's being said. I don't know if I want to live. Since when does she, as an apparition, have that kind of choice?
Well, I really, and this goes back to a theory that some ghosts do not know that they have died. And I almost wonder if she does not know that she's dead.
Good point.
For all she knows, she is still living. And this living that she's doing now is such hell for her because she can't communicate with anybody she loves. All these things are changing around her. She doesn't know where she's at. She doesn't know what she's doing. That she could say, I don't know if I want to live, because in her mind, she is still alive.
That's a very good point. On to number 4. Set it up.
On this one, me and Brendan were down in the basement of the house, and we're in the dark, and Brendan doesn't have an infrared camera, so he's walking through this room. You're going to hear Brendan say, "What's in front of me, Barb?" And I respond, and I say, "I don't think anything, Brendan." And then he interrupts, and he says, "You don't think anything?" And then I say, our left of you, to the left of you. And there's a voice that comes in and says, "Leave us out there."
Leave us out there. Leave us out there. Okay, here we go.
What's in front of me, Barb?
I don't think anything, Brendan.
You don't think anything?
Or left of you. Leave us out there. Leave us out there.
What's in front of me, Barb?
I don't think anything, Brendan.
No, wait a minute. Remember, folks, this is in the dark. In the dark, in a mortician's basement.
What's in front of me, Barb?
I don't think anything, Brendan.
You don't think anything?
Or left of you. Leave us out there. Leave us out there. Leave us out there.
That's clear. That's very clear. Leave us out there. Leave us out there. Is it always your impression these remarks are actually directed at you two, or could they be remarks directed at another?
Well, some of them seem like they are directed directly to what we're saying. Others seem like they're talking to somebody else.
Okay, leave us out there. I mean, that could mean, of course, so many things, but it could essentially mean let us alone. Let us alone. Leave us out there. Let us alone. Don't be summoning us from the other side or something like that. Who knows?
Right.
All right, number 5.
All right. In this next clip, I was upstairs with Barbara's husband, Roger, and I was asking Roger, I say, "Do me a favor, Raj, take a picture of that." And I was pointing towards the mirror that I had actually seen this young boy in the last time we had been at this house.
Oh, yes.
And I wanted to use it for the website to actually post it so I could show people this is the mirror that I saw the young boy in.
Sure.
And I say, take a picture of that towards the mirror, but also at that, and I'm kind of pointing towards the fireplace. And then you're going to hear, and Roger and I were alone at this time, you're going to hear a younger woman say, "It's okay, come on, it's a camera, hun." And the very first part of this, where she says, "It's okay, come on," is it's almost fast, like she's trying to hurry something up.
Okay, let's take a listen.
Do me a favor, just take a picture of that towards the mirror, but also all that.
Yeah, I think that's quite clear. You're right. The first part of it goes quite quickly. It's okay, come on, it's a camera, hon. Now, there was no female present at all.
No, not at this time. There wasn't.
That would appear to be one ghost, one entity speaking then to another.
And I also can hear another, it sounds like a young little child in between her sentence.
Oh? Oh, really? Let me listen again, by all means.
Do me a favor, just take a picture of that towards the mirror, but also all that.
Mm-hmm. That time,
sounds like a very young voice.
I heard it that time. Yes. So that could be, I hate to be flippant, but a mother ghost talking to a child ghost.
That's kind of what it reminded me of when I first heard that.
Huh. As you see, I'm always trying to draw, and perhaps more times than not, I'm sure incorrectly, some sort of inference about the other side or about the condition these spirits are in from what they say. And that would imply, I don't know, hun, that implies some sort of loving relationship taking place on the other side, right?
That's right. I believe
Maybe.
that you still have emotion and love and for the things that you did in life after you die.
I hope so. Otherwise, we haven't really transferred our consciousness to the other side, because our consciousness, at least part of it, is made up of all the emotions that we feel and experience, right?
Correct.
So if it really does continue, it would have to continue with those emotions somewhat intact.
That's correct.
Yes, all right. Number 6.
In this clip, you're going to hear Brendan. He was up in the funeral director's son's room.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to hear Brendan say, "Is anyone in here?" And we believe that this voice responding says, "Not alive."
Here you go.
Is anyone in here?
Wow. I absolutely agree. That man is saying, "Not alive." Is anyone in here? Not alive. And it's responded to in that way, in that sense, as if you were answering, "Yeah, we're here, but baby, we're not alive." Listen.
Is anyone in here?
I can just about picture somebody in an 18-wheeler hanging about 75 miles an hour down one of the freeways here in the West, listening to this and totally creeping out in the middle of the night. Now, not alive. That seemed to be an answer. We were talking about that a minute ago. He seemed to be responding directly to you, didn't he?
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's that. And also, notice how much he's almost got personality in his answer.
Exactly.
It's almost very sarcastic.
Exactly. Yeah, we're here, but not alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, I know y'all are brave and all that stuff, but I wouldn't go into a mortician's house where strange things had been flying around and lights are scooting around and voices are going on and you're in his basement in the dark. Good Lord.
It really is not scary at the time.
How could that not be scary?
Well, when we do this, we have such a mindset that these are people. You can't look at them as, what Hollywood wants you to believe, because that's just simply not the way they are. They're people that have lived and died, they've had a body, and they have the exact same personality they had in life. The majority of people you see in life are not mean. Most of them are very nice.
All right, let me try this one out on you. A lot of people who die as older people die as grouchy old,
right,
miserable,
and we've come up against them.
And then, if a child were to die, a child would, if you retain all your faculties and emotions and everything that is consciousness, a child would still be curious about everything in the world and be like a child is, in death even, right?
Correct.
And that's what you find?
Yes.
A lot of the times, yes.
I recorded a child's voice one time. I was fooling with my tape recorder, and I recorded a little child say, "Can you talk with it?"
Meaning, the meaning of that you think would be, could you talk to us with that?
I believe it. He was wanting to know if I could talk with this thing that I was holding in my hand.
All right. Number 7.
All right. Well, on this one, you're going to hear the mortician. He was describing to us one of the events that he had happen in this house.
Right.
And he was pointing over towards his sofa in the basement, and he was saying there was a yellow spark. And apparently he had seen a yellow spark come up behind the sofa.
Yeah.
And this cut always makes me laugh when I hear this, because the response is so off the wall. Nobody had said anything when this happened. And you're just going to hear a man's voice go, hmm.
Really? All right, here we go.
There's a yellow spark.
Yes. I'll tell you what I think about that after we do it. Well, no, I'll tell you now. It seems to me we're hearing from the entity who was responsible for the spark with kind of a, like, yeah, baby, it was me. I mean, here, listen.
There's a yellow spark.
That's the way I take it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I wonder who did that. Do you think these entities are to that degree retaining their, I don't know, sense of humor, or...
They definitely have a great sense of humor, many of them.
Practical joke ability? I hope that remains after death. I've rather always enjoyed playing practical jokes.
Yeah, we have had some interesting stories told to us about some of them have a wonderful sense of humor.
Would like to remind everybody that you can email me, yes, that wonderful electronic method of getting from here to there. You may email me at artbell@mindspring.com. That's ARTBELL, all in lowercase, at mindspring.com. Or you can also email me, artbell@AOL.com. 2 methods. You may also fast blast me. And that's available on the website, up near the webcam somewhere or another. You hit Fast Blast, and you can type a question to me during the course of the show. It's a very interesting way to get immediate input from the audience. And here is one from Chris in Monticello, Iowa. And it is, hey, you two, have you ever encountered something that was truly dark, evil, and just plain bad all around?
I really cannot say that we have. We've been into locations where there's an oppressive, heavy feeling. Mm-hmm. I have never experienced anything that...
that fit that description?
No.
What about you, Brennan?
I haven't, nothing to what he's asking about as far as something that's so dark and oppressive. But, I mean, I have witnessed things that have bothered me. And like I mentioned before, the young boy that I saw run behind me in the mirror.
That'd be one, but how about a spirit that screams at you, "Get out!"
Well, we've had that happen.
I know you've had that. I remember playing them, and so how could that not strike you that way?
I think it's more the fact that, and I think the voice you're thinking of that said "get out" was from a prison.
Yeah.
And, you know, the people that are in prisons, especially that long ago, they weren't there for, you know, very good crimes. I mean, they did something to get in there, and they weren't the best people. So, I mean, you just kind of take that into account when you go into it, that these are the kind of people you're going to be dealing with.
So, then on the other side, we can expect all the very worst rapists and serial killers that we've executed, huh?
Well, that
if they stay, yeah. I mean,
well, unless they have a different destination, right?
No, that's true.
But you'll also have your nice, sweet old ladies that bake cookies every day.
Well, there's a combination for you. All right, number 8 again, and finally, I believe from the mortician's home.
Yes, this one was recorded by the funeral director.
Oh, he took to doing it himself, huh?
Yes, he went and got his tape recorder. He was visually seeing a woman that we could not see.
Uh-huh.
And he went and got his tape recorder, and he asked, you'll hear him say, "What's your name?" And this voice was recorded. It sounds like it says Marty or Margie or Marnie. It has that sound to it.
What prompted the mortician to ask the question?
Because he could see her, and we could not.
Okay, here we go. It's a short one.
What's your name?
Oh. I think that's a woman's voice again.
What's your name?
I'd say Margie. I'd say that was a female.
That was Jenny and my first impression that it was Margie.
Yeah, Margie, and we were hearing a female voice. That's definitely what it sounded like. All right. Finally, we exit the funeral director's home. I'd have been out a long time ago. After the first 2, I'd have been gone. And but now we make our way to none other than the Rawlins prison. That's what, Rawlins, Wyoming?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Revisited.
Okay, is this the Rawlins prison? Is it now closed?
Yes, it's now a museum, and it's a wonderful. Anyone going through Rawlins should really try to take the time to go through this their tour of the prison.
Well, by the way, do I hear a radio on in the background? If someone has a radio on, please extinguish it post-haste. I do hear something.
I don't know. Let me...
Somebody perhaps in another room or something.
Let me go check that real quick.
Either that or I'm getting EVPs in my own show. Can you all hear that in the background? Yeah. I definitely hear something in the background. So we're going to the Rawlins prison, and what's the story here?
Well, the Rawlins prison, I don't know if you remember this or not, but 2 years ago, actually, we did an investigation there, and we pretty much devoted an entire show with you on, yes. on this prison.
I well recall, yes.
And so this is Rawlins Revisited is what it is.
Rawlins 2, okay. So when did you go back, by the way?
This was September 18th, I believe was the day. September 18th of this year was when we went back.
Mm-hmm. And number 9 here?
Well, this one, what you're going to hear is, and this was recorded in the death house of the prison, and you're going to hear the prison director start talking about, and she says, and he and I were over there, and we were complaining it was cold, and then she says something that you can't really make out, and then she finishes it off with, "We got warm." And then here's the real interesting thing. You're going to hear a kid say he was.
A kid?
In the death house of this prison.
By the way, how did they, you say death house, how did they execute people when the prison was open?
Well, there were 2 ways. Originally, when the prison first opened, they did it by hanging. And then in, I believe it was the 1950s, they installed a gas chamber, and they would execute them by hydrocyanic gas. And that kind of leads me into this next thing is the only thing we can rationalize on why we would hear a kid in this death house is the last inmate to be killed there was a man by the name of Andrew Pixley. And he committed the worst crime in Wyoming history. He was found on top of two girls. He had ate them. Is pretty much what had happened.
Did you say he had eaten them?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
He tore their bodies
apart with his teeth.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, and he also had the fastest execution. He went straight in, and within, I think it was 2 months, they had executed him. But they did gas him. He lasted longer in the gas chamber than anyone in that prison. He lasted 5 minutes. It took him 5 minutes to die. And the guards were afraid of him. In his cell, they would claim that there was this horrible stench that would come out of his cell. They would claim that they would hear children's voices coming out of his cell, when obviously
there was other voices also coming out of his cell that were not his voice.
Exactly, and
he never slept.
This is the only reason we can really rationalize why you would hear a child's voice in this prison.
Okay, here we go.
And me and I went over there and were complaining that it was cold, and I'm looking instantly about one.
All right, now, once again, what you are supposedly hearing here, and it's a little indistinct, is the prison director, and he and I were over there, and we were complaining it was cold, then something you can't make out, and then supposedly we got warm, and he was.
And me and I went over there and were complaining that it was cold, and I'm looking instantly about one.
Oh, that's to even think that a child's voice would be present after an inmate of that sort was executed. Anybody want to explain to me what that...
Well, I know they did have a young prisoner there that was probably about 14 or 15 at one time in the frontier days, but this voice sounds younger than that.
Yeah, I don't believe it's that young.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think I do. Oh, that's horrible. That's so close to what you would have to think of as pure evil that maybe that. I mean, just hear the story of what he did. That's so close to pure evil. It's insanity, of course, but it's a pure evil kind of insanity. I don't know.
Well, and he claimed that he didn't remember doing it when he had done it.
Well, maybe he was right.
Well, and they tried him, and he said, I don't remember doing this, and if I did, I believe I should die for it.
And it was the parents that found him in the room. It was a hotel room.
He really said that. I don't believe that I did this, but if I did, I should die for it.
Yeah, yes. He said, I don't remember doing this.
I don't remember doing it.
If I did, I believe he said you should kill me for it.
Well, I've interviewed people like Father Malachi Martin, and they will tell you without exception, without question, that people are inhabited by evil spirits, by Lucifer.
And
it really does happen. And what if it happened to that man? What if he doesn't remember it? It's so evil that nobody... I mean, that's the kind of thing you'd say if you were sane, right? If I really did do this, well, then I deserve to die.
That's correct.
All right, we better move. Number 10.
This one, we were in different parts of the prison. We kind of scattered out, and we used walkie-talkies to keep in contact with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And Brendan had radioed to me. I was in a different part of the prison than he was. And you're going to hear me respond back to him and say, Brendan. And then there's a woman's voice that says his name, repeats his name, but in a very different way than I called to him.
Yes.
And then you'll hear Brendan radio back and tell me to hold on a second, Barbara.
All right. Oh.
Hold on a second, Barbara.
Clear. Oh, no question about it. And a young woman's voice at that. Listen very carefully. This is a good one. This is a very good one.
Hold on a second, Barbara.
Well, that's no radio voice, that's for sure.
That's no radio voice. And there were women in this prison that were prisoners there.
There were?
Yes. They were kept separate from the men. They were above, they were kind of attached in an area.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe the bad ones are not out wandering around. I mean, what if you die in prison, maybe the larger cosmos keeps you in prison?
Well, you know, I kind of have a theory that hell is repetition, and what worse place to be than prison and keep repeating that over and over and over again. And
oh, you're right.
I mean, especially the people that go to prison, and for some of the crimes that they've committed, like that Andrew Pixley, it's best not to even think about it.
And yet there are priests who will go to that prison at the end, the very last moments of the prisoner's life, and tell him that if he, I don't know, converts or takes God on or Jesus at the very last minute, he will nevertheless be forgiven. That's part of our religion.
Correct.
Yeah. That's part of the Christian religion. Okay, number 11.
All right. In this clip, Barbara and Jenny were off by themselves, and you'll hear Barbara talking to Jenny, and she's saying, "You see it?" And she could see her reflection in the marble of one of the corridors in the prison.
Yeah.
And then she says, "Oh, now it changes." And then she says, "See it again?" And then after that, you'll hear, it sounds like a really young woman saying, "It's all right."
Okay. Here we go.
Can you see it? Well, now it changes. See it?
All right, now what I want everybody to pay attention to in this, it's my own little thing, but do you hear the acoustics when whatever it is says it's all right? The acoustics would appear to match the acoustics that you're hearing with the more human voices. Now, that's really interesting. Listen carefully to the acoustics.
Can you see it? Well, now it changes. See it?
Do you hear the acoustics in that, you all?
Yes. Wonderful, isn't it?
Well, maybe it's wonderful. I don't know, but it's as though to achieve. I'm trying to think about this. To achieve that, it would have to be allowed. However,
we didn't hear it.
However, maybe on the other side, the acoustics are the same because it virtually is the same on the other side, but just in a sort of on a different frequency or in a different some different.
I know, it opens all kinds of questions to you, doesn't it?
Dimension is what I was going to say. Something, but the acoustics sound the same, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in the same room as you're in.
Yes, and she was.
And she was. Huh. Okay, number 12.
There was an area of this prison when they would bring the prisoners into the prison.
Yes.
Where there was a whipping post, and they would tie the prisoners to this whipping post and whip them.
This is a very old prison, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
It's been a long time. How long ago did we whip people?
Well, it was a frontier prison. It was built
1890.
in the late 1800s. And that was their custom of what they would do to every prisoner that they brought into this place. And the pole is still there.
Okay.
And you'll hear Brendan ask the prison director, so they would actually whip people here. And this voice was recorded that says, yeah, they would, our prisoners. And then the prison director, you'll hear her say, there's one in the Peace Officers Museum, too.
Here it is.
So they would actually whip people there.
There's one in the Peace Officers Museum, too.
Well, the way he said that as though he was the warden. Who else would say our prisoners? Well, maybe a guard.
So they would actually whip people there.
There's one in the Peace Officers Museum, too.
So do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That sounds as though it's coming from a figure of authority, our
correct.
prisoners, as in the warden, or maybe even another, a guard or something.
Right, and there was a guard that was murdered there.
Murdered there.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly believable in a prison. Well, this is pretty cool. The board operator at one of my affiliates in as a matter of fact, it's WCTC. Now, how's that for a set of call letters, coast to coast? WCTC in New Brunswick, New Jersey, agrees the acoustics, remember I mentioned that? He says very close. The voice is audible, but the voice could have been saying it's over as well. Thanks to this show, I'm actually starting to believe some of this stuff truly exists. And that's pretty interesting. Believes it truly exists. Well, I surely do, too. How can you not? And that comes to you two. So let me ask you two. Do you believe this stuff really exists? What conclusions have you two come to? I mean, listening and gathering and doing all this all the time. How about it? What do you believe?
Well, I believe that how you live really affects on how you are after you die, and how you are with people and how you are in your thoughts. It's not going to change after we pass on. Your garbage is going to stay with you.
Garbage in, garbage out. Right?
It won't leave.
But then those who have good qualities, those who are happy in life and have been enjoyed. In other words, you are what you eat, like that kind of.
Exactly. And I really don't think that you will. I don't believe that happy ghosts stay ghosts for very long.
Do you have any proof of that?
We haven't recorded too many happy-sounding ones.
No.
Oh. Good point, but
We've gotten some
so
funny
then
ones.
would you think then that well, a sense of humor doesn't get you to heaven. It takes more than that. Let's just move on to the next one, I guess. You could speculate about this until the cows come home.
That's
and
right.
You almost can't help but do it. You almost can't help but do it because you want to know about the other side. All right, we're still in the Rawlins prison.
That's right.
Where we're going to be for a while. And what have we coming here?
All right, well, this clip, and this is pretty interesting, just the way this clip comes out in the context and then the voice and all of it just kind of works together.
Okay.
In this clip, you're going to hear Barry, I, and the prison director. We were outside, and she was taking us over to an area of the courtyard in the prison, and she was explaining that there used to be dungeons here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to hear her say, we know that there is a dungeon. Have you guys ever read the diary set, We Sell Sweet Smell of Sagebrush? And then I respond, no. And then she continues saying, well, the sweet smell sage brush is Stanley Hudson. He was here for, and then you're going to hear the beginning of this EVP, and you're going to hear it twice in the actual sentence that she's finishing.
What is the EVP?
I'm actually on this one. I'm not going to tell you because you'll be able to hear it as soon as it comes in. But she finishes saying different times, and he talks about the dungeon, so we know there was a dungeon. And then I finish saying, and he was an inmate, and then she finishes, yeah.
So this is good. This is very good. So they're not going to tell you this time, and that's a good experiment to do. It's much like the old reverse speech thing. A lot of people say, well, they're telling us what we're going to hear, and so we hear it. So, okay, here's an EVP where you're going to have to figure out which is the EVP, the electronic voice phenomena, yourself. That's not going to happen there. Wrong cut. So let's stop this and go to the real EVP. Otherwise, they're playing bongos over there on the other side. Okay, let me see. Well, when you're trying to do everything, occasionally that occurs. It is actually this one. So here we go. No bongos here, but listen carefully.
We know that there is a dungeon. Have you guys ever read that diary we sell, Sweet Smell Sagebrush?
No.
Well, the Sweet Smell Sagebrush is Stanley Hudson, was here 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that there was a dungeon.
He was an inmate?
Yeah. 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that...
Well, that's a total duh. A total duh. Obviously, it's the horrible scream that goes on, right?
Yes.
Horrible scream.
Horrible.
Now,
like he's being tormented or tortured.
Exactly. Now, listen, I'm going to play it again, folks, and if that is not torture, forget torment. What you're hearing there is absolute torture. Listen to the quality of the scream. Listen very carefully.
We know that there is a dungeon. Have you guys ever read that diary we sell, Sweet Smell Sagebrush?
No.
Well, the Sweet Smell Sagebrush is Stanley Hudson, was here 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that there was a dungeon.
He was an inmate?
Yeah.
God.
4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know
Oh, God, that's awful.
It is awful. I just hate that.
That's part, I guess, of being in a prison, but that's, you're saying they put people on posts and whip them, right?
Yes.
That's what that sounds like, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and that was just, the post. That was in plain view of everybody else. The dungeon was hidden away underground, so I can only imagine what they'd actually do.
By a long shot. That's the worst one yet. I mean, that is the worst one yet. There is no question about the fact that that's torture.
We know that there is a dungeon. Have you guys ever read that diary we sell, Sweet Smell Sagebrush?
No.
Well, the Sweet Smell Sagebrush is Stanley Hudson, was here 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that there was a dungeon.
He was an inmate?
Yeah. 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon. So we know that 4 different times, and he talks about the dungeon.
No question about that, guys. No question at all. Now, when you heard that, what do you surmise from that? That this torture is going on eternally? I think that's a yes, probably, isn't it?
Well, we talked about that when I heard it, and then I brought it up to Barbara and had her listen to it. She was extremely disturbed by it, I mean, as she just told you. And we started talking about why you would hear this. I mean, why you would hear this voice screaming.
Yes.
And, I told her that I thought, well, and like I told you before, that this is a prison, and the people that are there are not the nicest people, and they could be just repeating this stuff over and over and over and over again.
Or it's residual, one of the two.
Or it's residual. Yes, that's another theory, and I think we ought to talk about that for a second. Mm-hmm. The possibility, and it's only really a possibility. I mean, you can sort of hope for residual in a case like that.
That's what I hope. this man isn't being tortured mentally. I mean, it would have to be a mental thing.
The trouble with residual is, if it were residual, then you wouldn't get obvious, absolute responses to things that you say.
That's right. And that's what kind of worried me about it, is that we are talking about the dungeon, and we are in the area that the dungeon was, and they've since cemented the dungeon in. They've poured cement into it, and you can't get to it now.
Well, I would like to believe residual, because that means that it's not eternal torture, but the fact that you get so many that are responsive to things you say, and in the current moment, that you can't really believe that.
Well, in this instant, in this particular EVP, I would imagine that there was terrible torture that took place in this dungeon area. And usually when it's a residual haunting, it's from a very emotional event that like burns itself into the atmosphere there. And so
then
I can
maybe,
see where this...
Okay, then maybe the best we can hope for is that it's both, that there is some residual memory left that you're picking up, because that's all we can hope, because on the other hand, we do get these directly responsive things to you, so it would have to be both if it's going to be residual.
Well, I think that I'm hoping that this one is. I don't believe the other ones are residual because there is such good interaction of what's taking place at the time.
You're a real optimist for death, aren't you, Barbara? I mean, you're always sort of the half-cup full kind of girl. When you listen to these,
my cup is always half full.
Whereas Brendan is perhaps a little darker about it all in the way he views these responses. I guess the audience probably split a million different ways on them. All right, number 14.
All right, in this one, Brendan and Barry were together in an area of the prison, and they could hear Roger talking. And you're going to hear Brendan say, "Who's Roger with then?" He was talking to somebody. And Barry answers and says he could be talking to somebody and have nobody with him. And this voice, we're uncertain for sure what it says. It almost sounds like it says, "Porter, lose again," but definitely the last word is coward.
Coward. All right, well, let's see what we can get out of this.
Who's Roger with, then? He was talking to somebody. He could be talking to somebody and have nobody with him.
Porter, lose again, coward. Porter, lose again, coward. Porter, lose again, coward.
All right, well, clearly you can hear the word at the end, coward, and it sounds like a woman's voice. Do you all agree?
Yes.
All right, one more time. Listen, you can certainly hear coward at the end.
Who's Roger with, then? He was talking to somebody. He could be talking to somebody and have nobody with him.
Porter, lose again, coward. Porter, lose again, coward. Porter, lose again, coward.
Presented twice and clearly for your consideration. All right. Again, in her voice, interesting thing. I noted a kind of emotional attitude in the way she said whatever it was she said. It ended with coward, but there was emotional inflection in what she said.
Yes.
Agreed?
Yes.
She does. I mean, it definitely seems like she keeps her personality. I mean, whatever it was in life, which, I mean, who knows what that is, but she definitely seems to portray that in that voice.
Are you two now positive that what you're receiving on these tape recorders, on these digital recorders, what you're receiving is not some weird, I don't know, a million things are suggested. It's a radio station, and you're catching some little bit of a broadcast somewhere, or, well, since you use new tapes, it really couldn't be even, maybe some artifact.
We have picked up radio in some areas.
It happens, yes.
And you can definitely tell radio. There's no doubt about radio.
I mean, there's definitely a distinct difference in sound quality between these voices and radio transmission.
Well, you're right. I could tell in a second if it was radio. As a matter of fact, listening to all this, I guarantee you, I would have chimed up and I'd have said, "Hey, that's some part of a broadcast or something."
That's
but no,
correct.
it does not sound like that at all.
And this location, the prison, the seat, the walls are so high, and when you do talk in there, it's echoey.
I guess
And
what I'm trying to do is cause my audience to ask themselves, what the hell else could this be? I mean, you listen to these, if it's not a broadcast and it's not some other weird phenomena that I'm pretty far into electronics, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue what could be putting these voices on there. Not a clue. And so you're led to the inevitable conclusion that somehow spirits are able to communicate over our modern electronic devices, or the devices hear them. Do you believe these are projected voices, that it's hard for these entities to make themselves heard, or do you think they just do it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think it strains them to do this. And in a lot of the voices, you can almost hear that they're straining to get these sentences across. I mean, it's almost, you can almost compare it to running out of breath. I mean, and that doesn't make sense, obviously, with no lungs, but, I mean, it seems like they're really trying to get these voices onto our tapes.
Is it your impression, the two of you, that they can see you as clearly as each other, that they see you all of the time, but you don't see them all of the time? Is that your impression?
I believe that they know that we're there. I believe that they're aware of us.
Only in the same...
I don't know if they can...
Only in the way that you seem to know they are there, by some sort of intuition, only at that level, or do you think they can see...
Well, I can't always tell when they're there. I mean, it's real extreme times when I'm physically aware that there is something there. We don't assume when we go into a location that... unless we have investigated it prior to and know that there is something there. We do not assume when we go into a location that it has ghosts, unless we get evidence that there is something at a place. But I do feel like they are aware of our presence. More than
you are theirs.
Yes.
You have to wonder if the world of the dead, such as it is, looks at the world of the living without difficulty, or with some difficulty, or I don't know.
I think our physical beings, our physical bodies limit us a great deal on what we're able to sense.
All right, let's squeeze one more in before the top of the hour. Number 15.
All right, well, this clip, I recorded this, and this was also on the digital. I was walking down a corridor that led into the shower area of the prison, which was actually the most murders in the prison happened in this area,
yes,
where the showers were.
Yes.
You will hear the prison director asking me, well, what did you do with it? And she's referring to a CD that I had made for her with all these voices on it. And apparently she never got it.
Right.
And you hear me say, I've still got it. I keep backups of all of them. And then this man comes in and says, I have to go now. I'm dead.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, let's take a listen to that. Here we go.
What would you do with it?
I still got it, because I make backups of all of them.
You have to go now. You have to go now. You have to go now.
I don't know how to take that one. I have to go now. I'm dead.
What would you do with it?
I still got it, because I make backups of all of them.
You have to go now. You have to go now. You have to go now.
Yikes, you two. I have to go now. I'm dead. All right, what do we draw out of that one? Well, gee, let's see. What could it be? I have such a busy life now that I'm dead. I got to go. Sorry. or what?
Maybe he just realized it because they were talking about voices of the dead.
This is death, things to do, places to go. Or, I have to go now. I'm dead. I don't get it. Why is he there in the first place? Why does he feel hurried to go anywhere? Because he's dead. Now, there's somebody who you can't say doesn't know they're dead.
That's right.
He's clearly aware. So, in other words, what do we get? I always try to draw something from each of these, but I hate to blow up an earlier argument, but, he is obviously aware he's dead. Be assured, any time I do a program of this sort, I get hundreds or even thousands of emails, and in this case, you might want to contact Brendan or Barbara McBeath, Brendan Cook or Barbara McBeath directly, or the organization, the GIS directly, to find out more, maybe to find out how to do this yourself. If you're a doubter, then by all means, get the instructions, follow them, and go do this yourself. Can't tell you how many emails I'd have from people. I go, oh, my God, I tried this, and then they're emailing their EVPs to me, and I guess I want to give you two a chance. I know you've got a website, so tell us what it is, and then how we can get in contact with you.
All right. The website is www.ghostpix.com.
Uh-huh.
And if you go there, there's email addresses to the site. There's email addresses to each individual member.
Implication, you have pictures there on the website?
Yes, we do. We've got pictures. We've also got video. We've got, I think we're getting close to 200 EVPs on the site now.
I betcha.
And we also have a P.O. box.
Yeah, we have a P.O. box for people if they can't get to a computer.
Go ahead and give that out.
Write to us at P.O. Box 2383, Layton, Utah 84041-9383.
Again.
It's P.O. Box 2383, Layton, Utah 84041-9383.
Huh. All right. You've got a website. I know something about websites and the Internet, and I know that websites, particularly ones that dispense WAV files or whatever it is you dispense, use a lot of bandwidth. Who pays for all of that?
We do.
We do.
You do.
We were just actually going over what this bill for this month is going to cost.
Yeah,
so.
I bet.
It's horrendous.
I bet it's not cheap, huh?
No, it isn't.
How much, out of curiosity?
Well, we just recently had one that was over $200 for the month.
Okay, $200.
Yeah.
All right. So you all scratch this up and equally donate?
Yes.
That's between the five of us.
Between the five of you. So you see how they're supporting this, folks? They're not screeching for donations or anything else, and that's one of the things, of course, that adds to your credibility in all of this. People just love to poke holes in things. If somebody's selling a book, well, he's just on the air to sell his book. Or they're just on the air to make money from these. Well, you're not, though. That's a big problem for the doubters. Now, how hard is it for someone to do this themselves?
It's not hard at all. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because we have noticed, actually, now there's people out there who would like to charge you to find out how to do this, and you don't need that. I mean, there's no reason you have to pay somebody to do that. All you have to do is go to our website. We tell you on there what you need, how to do it. We even tell you, how to get it onto the computer, how to send it to us. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email us, and we'll be happy to answer you.
For the people who think this is a relatively new phenomena, it is far from that, right? I mean, doesn't this go back as far as...
The earliest one I've heard of trying to communicate with the dead, and he felt like he almost had it a machine to be able to do that was Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison. So just about as soon as we got voices, we began to get these voices, didn't we?
Yes.
That's right.
In other words, it's always been there because that was the beginning of audio from elsewhere.
That's right.
Yeah,
and people even
should think
before
about.
electronics came along, they, tried to communicate by holding seances.
Didn't Thomas Edison, and this is foggy, it may be foggy in my mind, but didn't he actually talk? I know people aren't going to believe this of Thomas Edison, but didn't he actually talk about hearing and talking to the dead?
Yes.
He did.
Now, what possibly could have influenced a man of his stature, Thomas Edison, to think that he could talk to the dead?
Well, just simply that he believed it was possible. I mean, you brought up earlier about Stephen Hawking and
Yes.
believing that there's a shadow realm. And I mean,
Yes.
easily Stephen Hawking has to be one of the most intelligent men of our time.
Clearly.
And for him to believe that, I mean, people are so close-minded to some things that it's almost scary.
And, and we have a tendency not to accept what we don't understand, but as technology advances and science advances, we're able to get explanations of things that we used to think were impossible.
Indeed so. We have more to do, but I do want to take a couple of calls, if it'd be all right, kind of intersperse them a little bit now. First-time caller on the line, you're on the air with GIS. Hi.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
I must say that I've been thoroughly disturbed yet fascinated by the show tonight. I think it's a great topic.
It is.
But I hope to talk about something else tomorrow night because I'm a little freaked out.
I know. I've had a lot of emails and a lot of fast blasts from people who are totally freaked out. Well,
yeah. Well,
what can I say?
I work a graveyard security shift, and I'm by myself in the dark for the vast majority of the time. So
It's I've seen 1,000 security guys like you die horridly.
Oh well, thanks a lot. I feel so comforted.
So anyway, what's on your mind?
Well, the first clip that you played tonight.
Say it like it could have been your last thought.
Thanks.
The first clip.
Anyway, the first clip, a young lady, she said, "Come enjoy the light." I consider myself a very spiritual person, a very religious person, and to hear that, it kind of sounds like, I refer to truth as light, and to me that seems like it could have some religious connotations.
Yeah.
Barbara and Brendan, do you ever get clips of these voices or of that you may think have some religious, I guess, doctrine in it?
It's an obvious and very, very good question.
It was a very good question, and it isn't something that I've really thought about with some of these voices.
Well, think about it in that context. Of all the ones that you've had, have any had religious connotations to them? Have any talked about Jesus, God, the church, faith?
No.
Not to that effect. I mean, we have got clips like what he just mentioned that, you could think about them and wonder, could they be meaning this?
Before we lose another station, let me add Allah, Buddha, whatever.
Oh, yes.
God. No, I am serious about this.
Let's not forget them.
Yeah. So anything that would reflect any of that, but no, huh?
No, not to the point of actually naming, God's names. It's more just like he said, theoretical things that, it could be that that's what they're referring to, but maybe not.
We've recorded some that have referred to light before.
Yes.
But that's the extent of it, really.
Just light, though. Mm-hmm. All right, number 16.
All right, this one is really interesting. There's no interaction with this. You're going to hear Barry and Brendan walking up some metal stairs to the evidence room, which is usually locked and it's not open to the public.
Sure.
They keep evidence in this room from crimes that took place in the prison. And there was a horrific crime where a guard was set up and murdered by some prisoners. And they do know that it was a setup. And this voice that was recorded, it says, "How'd I get set up?"
How did I get set up? All right, listen.
How did I get set up? How did I get set up? How did I get set up?
Oh, are they ever right about that one? Oh, are you ever right about that one? And it's in that context, too, in that, in the way you would say it if you had been set up. Hey, you two, how many of them come like that? Without any question, without anything, they just appear out of context with anything else, boom, like
there
that.
are quite a few that do come like that. Like that one, we're just walking up the stairs, or nothing's being said, or even a lot of times things are being said but not referring to a ghost, just talking amongst ourselves.
Percentage-wise, how many are just unrelated to anything, just boom, out of the blue like that?
I'd have to say
10, 20, 50?
40%.
40% come out of nowhere.
That's
and
right.
60% somehow relate to something you've said or requested or, some interaction?
Some of them, we can't make sense of what it's even referring to.
Gotcha. Wildcard line, you're on the air with GIS. Hi there.
Hi there, it's me?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay, yeah, mine's referring to the first sample with the little girl again.
Oh, back to that one again, huh?
Yes, and could she be saying, come and join the light?
Actually,
Yeah,
I do
she
believe
could.
that, because originally when we first heard it, I did think that that's what it said. But just listening to it over and over again after that, I heard more, come enjoy the light.
Well, caller, hold on a second. You two, hold on a second. Here it is. I can't resist. Number one again.
Will you talk to us if you're here? Oh, hi. Yeah, there is something here, Brendan.
Come and join the light. Come and join the light. Come and join the light.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah.
It could be saying that.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
and that could be in reference to coming over to her side,
Right.
you know. So, well,
Come and
thank
join
you,
the
Barbara
light.
and
Hey,
Brendan
wait
and
a
Art.
minute. Before you go, sir, I do have a question. Hearing all of this, what is it, when you listen to this, what does it do to you? Are you saying, can you even find a way to say, oh, what a crock, or this is baloney, or anything else? Or what? How do you interpret this?
It's kind of frightful in a way, and for me, it's kind of reaffirming that there is an another side,
On the one
or
hand.
the fact that everything that everyone has said, the frequency of their words are just randomly floating around in the cosmos. And sometimes you're picking up things that you're referring to, and like they said, words just pop out. It's so mind-boggling that it is frightful.
Does it sound to you like it's coming from anywhere other than what we'll just sort of generically refer to as the other side?
Well, yeah, it does. In fact, there's a cemetery not far from me, and I'm thinking about getting trying this myself.
No. But again, is there any way you don't think it comes from the other side? That this is some kind of quirk, like a radio station or anything like that? Doesn't sound like that.
No, not at all. I do think that there's a lot more to what's going on. I do think it's coming from somewhere.
So do I. Thank you very much. All right, number, 17?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. In this clip, Barbara and Jenny were actually walking into the room that has the whipping post. And you'll hear Barbara say hello, and then the door to that room starts opening, and you'll hear that.
You mean the door starts by itself?
No. Barbara was opening the door to get into this room.
Okay.
And then you'll hear Barbara say to Jenny, here, I can hold this. And then you'll hear, I can't tell if this is a younger child or an older woman. It's one of the two.
Yes.
And she says what sounds like, I'm brain dead.
But she kind of is giggling at the time she says it.
Really, this I've got to hear.
Hello?
Hey, I can hold this.
Now, see, I disagree on this one. Do you know? I'll tell you what I think it says, so you can listen to it. Okay. Instead of "I'm brain dead," listen this time for my dad's dead. All right?
Yes.
Tell me if you hear my dad's dead.
Hello?
Hey, I can hold this.
Well?
That's hard for me to hear.
I don't hear that.
We were definitely dealing with the phenomena here that we all draw something out of it. I'm not arguing with the phenomena itself, not for 1 second, but that we all really do hear something different. And the fact that you suggest to us what we might hear, I wonder when I just suggested "my dad's dead," I wonder how many people heard it as "my dad's dead."
That's right.
After I said that.
Well, I know one of the GIS members agreed because I heard him say yes in the other room. So.
Really? So, there you are. On the one hand, I think the phenomena is solid. The science you're doing, I believe, is solid. And yes, I think we're hearing from the other side. But yes, we're going to have disagreements, just like in reverse speech, about what's being said, just because it's indistinct to some degree.
That's correct.
The three, one of them just brought in a note, and the three of them here, "My dad's dead."
Yeah. Okay.
The odd ones out, Barbara.
Just for the heck of it. All right. Number 18.
All right, you're going to hear Barry. Brendan and Barry were in the death house, and they were at the gas chamber, and one of them was sitting in the chair in the gas chamber, and you're going to hear Barry say, "Oh, I've got the flash turned off," referring to his camera.
Right.
And this EVP was recorded. It said, "Get you out of the chair."
Oh, all right. In the death chamber. Sitting in the chair. Something I probably would not choose to do. Here we go.
On your flash turned off.
Get you out of the chair. Get you out of the chair. Get you out of the chair.
Oh, that's pretty good. Get you out of the chair. Said in a way, if that's what it's saying, that is an older way of phrasing things. Get you out of the chair.
On your flash turned off.
Get you out of the chair. Get you out of the chair. Get you out of the chair.
That's what it's saying, all right. Get you out of the chair. Gee.
And we do things sometimes to entice or provoke a voice.
You do?
Oh, yes.
And you're never worried about repercussions beyond getting an EVP?
No.
I would be. I mean, you're not worried about something. You just finished telling me a story about a mortician where something attached itself to him. Now, you just know that could happen to you in these places you're going.
Oh, yes, and we believe that that's happened on occasion, but...
Really? And you don't think of that as a risk of doing what you're doing?
No, because having ghosts around doesn't bother me.
Very, very far up in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, very close to several popes, was an incredible, remarkable, incredible man. And somebody sent me an interesting email earlier in the day today and said, "Hey, is there anybody yet who has followed on where Father Malachi Martin left off?" And the answer to that is no, not yet. We're always on the lookout for somebody like Father Martin, but he was one person that is not going to... you really don't want to say that he's irreplaceable, but he really is irreplaceable. He was the exorcist. He was the real McCoy. Father Martin was the real McCoy. I really was honored to interview him several times. Well, they're doing a pretty cool thing. If you, let's see, what's the deal? If you subscribe to the After Dark newsletter that we've got, you get 12 monthly issues, which you would expect when you subscribe, right? And probably some little bonus or something. The bonus, though, in this case is it's a CD of one of my very early interviews with the Catholic priest, Father Malachi Martin. I'll give you the number for After Dark. It's 1-888-727-5505. And I'm telling you right now that this interview is something historical that you should have. And there's so much important information in it, which is obviously dead on the money. He deals with what my current guests are saying they've not encountered, and that is true evil. And I mean true, really true evil. And yes, there is true evil. So when you subscribe, or re-up, I guess, I don't know, you get this CD. That's one to keep and pass on to your youngsters. The number is 1-888-727-5505. 1-888-727-5505. In a moment, we return to the voices. I guess we'll be easy here and say from the other side. By the way, I would really appreciate it if some of you out there would take the time to go to the website, and when you get there, sit down with an open mind, a really open mind, at a quiet moment, and click on the Power of 10. The Power of 10 is a trip across the cosmos from 10 million light years out down to the size of a quark. And it is so compelling, so incredible, that I would hope a few of you, after watching it, hopefully in that frame of mind, will take a moment out and email me your thoughts. I would really enjoy that. So I'm Art Bell at mindspring.com. ARTBELL at mindspring.com. That also goes, by the way, for those who have guest suggestions, or anything else that you'd like to relate to me, artbell at mindspring.com. That said, back to the phones and my guests, you two. We've got two more of these to dispense with before the top of the hour, so let's rock.
All right.
Number 19.
Well, this next one, I was in the courtyard
Yes.
with the prison director, and she was explaining to me about the bodies that they had at the prison when some people would die, and if their families wouldn't claim them.
Mm-hmm.
She says, we also know that they were shipping bodies off to medical schools to use as cadavers.
Right.
And after she says that, you hear a man say, yeah, we're warm.
Okay, here we go.
We also know that they were shipping bodies off to medical schools to use as cadavers.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, as in warm bodies. That's the way I take that.
Yes. How we
yeah,
do
we're
too.
warm. Good material. One more time, folks.
We also know that they were shipping bodies off to medical schools to use as cadavers.
Yeah.
Gallows humor?
Yeah, kind of, isn't it?
Kind of. Kind of. They had gallows there, you said at one point, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay. All right. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with GIS. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Where are you, sir?
This is Steve. I'm in Minneapolis.
All right. What's up?
Not much. It's an honor to meet you.
And to you.
Art.
And to meet you, sir.
I have a question for your guest, and it's about the recordings of the ghosts. I was wondering if, you're hearing these voices saying stuff. I was wondering if you can actually hear what's going on in real life, or if this is just on the recordings.
And that's a good question. It's something that we should have brought up earlier. The majority of the time, no, we don't. We don't hear these when they're recorded. Every once in a while we do, but it's extremely rare to actually hear it.
It's happened, though, right?
Yeah.
It has. It's happened a few times.
Can you remember?
You off guard.
Can you remember a circumstance when it occurred, and what was happening? I mean, why do you think you heard it?
Yes, I had just stepped out of a mausoleum one night, and a couple of us were taking a smoke break, and I heard a child's voice, and I said, "Did you hear that?" And nobody heard it, but I recorded a child's voice when we reviewed the tape. It had a child's voice ask, "Have you got some candy?"
Yeah, and a child's voice shouldn't be in a prison under, you would think, any circumstances other than a very young prisoner. And I was about to ask how secure you keep your locations. In other words, obviously, one remote possibility would be that these voices are of GIS members, although after hearing the children, I've got to toss that one out. But, I mean, it's one of the things, the environment. How pristine do you maintain the environment when you're doing these recordings?
Well, a lot of the times we try, for one, we try to keep our talking, down to a minimum.
Of course.
We try, just to interact with them and also to interact with each other, and one person talk at a time. With us only being 5 of us, it's extremely easy to distinguish between each other's voices.
How many times have you ever talked over an EVP by mistake?
It happens
quite a
lot, and it's quite irritating when it happens.
And so you've got the rule, just don't talk too much, minimum of communication on the spot.
That's right.
That makes sense. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with the GIS group. Hi. Hello? Yes, hello.
Hi, I was calling about how they said they can't record they don't usually record happy voices or children or anything like that.
No, they get children, but not generally happy ones.
One of the ways to do that is to go to playgrounds, schools, dance halls, old speakeasies, and if you don't record anything right away, is to create a happiness, like bring music, start singing and dancing, and that kind of draws them out.
We've done that.
You've done it?
Oh, yeah.
With what kind of results?
Well, pretty much the same results we've always got. In fact, there's one time I can remember in an old hotel that used to have big balls in the 30s, and we actually brought some old 30s music and started playing it in the ballroom.
And I invited
Set
anyone
and
to come
setting,
and dance.
Set and setting, huh, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, did you get happy spirits?
They didn't sound happy to us.
Oh, see, here we go.
But we have recorded children laughing and
playful.
playing.
I can recall playful children.
Yes. I mean, we've recorded that, but, that's just not normally the way they sound. I mean, with the voices that we record
Yes.
Do not sound happy. Even if when we're laughing and talking amongst ourselves and we record a voice, very seldom are they laughing along with us.
All right. Got to take it the way it comes. Number 20.
On this one, you're going to hear Barry's camera makes a beep, and Barry says, "Okay, wonder what the flash is going to do." They were up in the gas chamber, and he was setting up his camera, and this voice says, "See you in a little bit." It's like the guy was boogieing it out of there while the camera was going to be rolling.
Well, maybe. Let's listen.
Okay. Wonder what the flash is going to do. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Let me put my own spin on this one. To me, it sounds like the spirit is being flippant, and the spirit is suggesting to one or both, Brendan and Barbara, that soon you'll be over here on this side, as in, see you in a little bit. That's the way it comes across to me. Now listen again.
Okay. Wonder what the flash is going to do. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Man, there's a tone to that voice. There's an inflection there that sounds like it's talking to one or both of you, and he's expecting you soon.
That's very possible, you know.
All right. First-time caller line, you're on the air with the GIS group. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm calling from West Virginia.
West Virginia, yes, sir.
I also just want to ask your guest if there's anything that they can do to, like, invoke spirits or, you know, when they're looking for them to make it easier for them to come around or anything like that.
It's a very good question. So you two, a little moment ago, you said you played 30s and 40s music in a ballroom.
Yes.
And that got the spirits moving, so to speak.
I mean, that's really, as far as that goes, that's about all you can do. I mean, we don't hold seances or anything like that. We just invite them to talk to us. And as Barbara mentioned before, we do things to kind of entice them. Like she mentioned, you know, me sitting in the gas chamber might sit and draw them out and go, hey, that's not right.
Well,
we always invite them to join in our conversation during an investigation. We welcome them to come and be with us and talk to us.
And then if memory serves, you also suggest upon your leaving that they don't follow you.
Yes,
right?
and we ask them to get out of the car if they're in the car with us, because we know they get in the car because we've recorded them in the car. And so, you know, we ask them to stay where they're at or to move on and not follow us home.
You've got great big ones, you two. Wildcard line, you're on the air with the GIS group. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I'm calling you from Mountain Home, Idaho.
Yes, sir.
Listening to you on 640 KFI in L.A.
Oh, no kidding. KFI is blasting up there, huh?
Absolutely.
Now, is that a signal or what?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's a screamer. Okay.
Yes, sir. My comment is when the lady was asking the little boy, or when she introduced herself and the little boy came back and said, I'm 3, I heard him say, I'm Keith.
Oh, really?
You heard him say, I'm Keith?
Yeah, that's instead of 3. I rather thought the 3 was quite clear, but you heard Keith, huh?
Several times.
Really?
Huh. No. All right, well, let's settle this. All right, let's settle this. Let's see here. What number was that?
I believe that was 2 or... Yeah, that was number 2.
And the little child says, I'm 3, and he says it before Brendan even asks
How old he is.
How old he is, right? Number 2. Okay, I can do that. Here we are.
Can you tell me who you are? My name is Barbara, and this is Brendan.
How old are you?
No. He said, I'm 3. There's no doubt about that one. That's quite clear. At least as far as I'm concerned, I understand people hear things differently, but that's what I got. All right, again, you would encourage people to do this themselves, right?
Yeah.
Well, they can, and they don't have to do it in the dark or in the middle of the cemetery at midnight. We have recorded hundreds of EVP in broad daylight. The only reason we go out at nighttime is because the noise is it's more quiet at that time.
While you keep saying that people don't have to go to these places, but that's where you go. I mean, cemeteries.
Well, I'm just saying they don't have to go out
morticians.
at nighttime. They can get them in the day.
Yes. So is it more important to be is it virtually just a place where many have died? Is that the key? What are we talking about here? Is a good place to be where many have?
Well, they could go to any kind of location that has reported haunting.
Or is it where many have died violently?
I don't know if it's so much that they've died violently.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess nobody really.
Yeah, I'm seeing it's all theory, but I mean, a place like the prison, if what causes you to stay behind as a ghost is mental anguish and some unfinished business in life, I mean, what better place than a prison? I mean, I don't want to use the word better, but
yeah.
I mean, a prison would be a prime place to have ghost activity.
Well,
any place that has ghost activity reported, someone could go to that location and try this.
And there's no difference, in your opinion, between going during the day and going at night?
No, there isn't, other than the noise level of outside, the traffic and other people around. And
a very good point. And so that would perhaps, say at a cemetery, that might contaminate your recording.
Yes, yeah, because we've gone, there's been some times when we've gone during the day and there's a lot of people, a lot of traffic going in and out.
I've got it, yeah. So people are better going at night, right?
Well, it would be more quiet. You would know definitely that if you picked up a voice there, more than likely you did record an EVP.